Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
Hi there, I'm Eric Summer, and this is At the Table with Tom and Eric, a show about the people who play games. And our guest at the table today is the owner of one of my favorite friendly local gaming stores, Labyrinth Games and Puzzles in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Kathleen Donahue. Hello, Kathleen.
Hi, thank you.
Eric, you read my part and your part.
I did, because you jumped to the end of your part. One of these days, I'm going to make a cue card.
I'm just going to say what I want to say.
You are used to being in charge and not reading a script. I get it.
All right, fine. Well, Kathleen, welcome to our show.
Thanks.
I see you brought games with you. That's always a good thing. A wall of games behind you.
I had the staff set me up a good look.
So, Eric, you said this is your friendly local game store. How far is it to get there?
This is a ways. It's in Washington, D.C., about 6 hours of a train ride to get there. But we have been several times vacationing in Washington, D.C. And while most people go straight to the Smithsonian museums, my first stop has often been this game store. And I first met Kathleen when I brought my kids to the store, and the staff immediately welcomed them and said, "Oh, would you like to sit down and play something? Welcome, really happy to have you here." And the kids are like, "Yeah, great, I'm happy to." It was just my eldest sat down and started playing, and we're like, "Wow, these folks are great." And then Kathleen called us aside and said, "We're really sorry. We're running a camp right now, and your son's not signed up, but the staff thinks he is, and so we need to fix this." And so we had to very gently let him finish the game he was playing and then escort him out of the store. But we came back in another year and signed up for the camp so that we could do it for real, which is a blast, which is actually where I wanted to start, Kathleen, because I've seen pictures that you've been posting on social media about summer camp. And I want to know what is Board Game Summer Camp and how is it going so far?
It's going okay. It's been a big change. We used to do pretty enormous summer camps pre-COVID. And so this is the first summer that we're back. So we're doing kind of a much smaller program this summer. But right now we have basically afternoon board game club. So there are a couple local camps that end at 3 p.m. And so we go, and either the camps bring the kids to us or we go and get them and bring them all back to the store. And then we play board games with them for 2.5 hours until their parents can get off work. So we're not doing full day camps this year, but we are doing every afternoon. I think today we have 16 or 18 kids coming from one of the local camps, and they come and hang out here with us and play games. And it's a lot of fun.
What are some examples of games that you play at these camps?
Oh, we play all kinds of stuff. Last week they were super obsessed with Space Base. We've been playing a lot of Magic Mountain. They really like that one. With the younger kids last week, we did a whole bunch of different ball maze constructions. So we did some building of various ball mazes. The younger kids really like all the Peaceable Kingdom games. And then we have a core group this year that are pretty advanced gamers. So they've been playing a lot of Harry Potter deck building game. They played Endangered, a cooperative game about saving animals the other day. So we play all kinds of stuff.
What's the age range of the campers?
5 to about 11. 5 to 12, it may be. I don't think anybody's older than 11.
How many kids are at it? How do you do it? So I found when I run games with kids, if I'm not at the table consistently running it, sometimes games spiral out of control when you leave the table.
Yeah, we generally have enough staff that we have people, maybe they'll run 2 tables, but we usually have enough staff. I have some summer interns who actually started 12 years ago in our summer camp programs and in our school programs. And so every summer those kids come back. Now they're in college. And, I have a couple high school kids and a couple college kids who come back, and I hire them for the summer. So we usually have 1 staff person and 2 or 3 older kids in there leading games for the younger kids. And like I said, used to we would do 40 some odd kids, and this summer we capped it at 24. So most of our our days have been between 16 and 24 kids. So that's, 4 or 5 tables generally.
I just want to know where these camps were when I was a kid.
Yeah, I want to sign up.
Well, pre-COVID, we used to run D&D camps and Pokemon camps and Magic camps and all kinds of camps. But this year, we kind of stuck to the board games. It's a little bit easier to plan.
So let's circle back a little bit. You are in the D.C. Area now. You're very close to Capitol Hill on Pennsylvania Avenue. Have you always lived in the D.C. area, or are you a transplant?
I am a transplant, as are so many people in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is a very transient place. But my husband and I moved here about 24 years ago, maybe. So we've been here for a long time. We live on Capitol Hill. I live about 5 blocks from the store. So that's one of the reasons I opened the store here. But yeah, we actually moved here from Miami. My husband and I got married in Miami, and we lived in Miami there before we moved up here, and he got a job up here, and so I came with him.
So looking back, like what was your childhood gaming history like? What's the earliest thing you can remember playing on a table?
So y'all are going to laugh at this, but I was not an enormous gamer when I decided to open a game store. So it's a little bit peculiar and very, very different from most game store owners, I think. But I did always love games as a kid. I was an only child, so I was a huge puzzle person, which is why it's games and puzzles. And why we carry more puzzles than I think most game stores do. When I was growing up, I especially loved wooden manipulative type puzzles. Not necessarily, I like jigsaw puzzles, but I really loved kind of mechanical puzzles. And then I also loved games. I mean, my family and it was just me and my mom and dad, and we frequently played games, but we played kind of more of the classic stuff. My dad was a big Trivial Pursuit fan, and my mom and I played lots of Scrabble. But when I came up with the idea of the store, I wanted something fun that I could bring my child to. My son was 6 when I opened the store. I just wanted something that could give back to the community. It was really important to me. And when I think back at really fun times when my family came together, it was always after like Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner when the whole family was there, and we would all play games after that. And that was a time that was very special to me.
So you said you're looking for something fun. Was games the first thing, or was it puzzles? Like, what made you pick this particular thing?
So my original thought, my 6-year-old was going to a birthday party, and I went to Northern Virginia to find a birthday present, and I had been talking to the family about the game Mancala. I love Mancala. When I did like games, I used to like games like Go and Mancala and kind of Nine Men Morris, things like that were kind of some of the things that I grew up with. I was looking for Mancala, and coming back into DC, there's the 14th Street Bridge to get onto Capitol Hill, and traffic is horrible. And there had been an accident on the bridge, and I got stuck, and I was supposed to pick up my son, and I called my husband because I wasn't moving and I couldn't get off the bridge, and I was freaking out because I had spent like 8 hours looking for a Mancala board and couldn't find one. And I was trying to come up with a career idea. I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore, and I wanted my own business. So I would present these crazy things to my husband frequently. My husband's a finance guy, and he'd be like, "You can't do that, blah, blah, blah." So when I called him freaking out because I couldn't pick up my son, I am like, "I can't believe I can't find a birthday present for kids on Capitol Hill." And he said, "That's what you should do. You should open a toy store." And my response to him was, "I don't like toys. I like games and puzzles." So I started thinking about it. Like at the time, I didn't even know game stores existed. Like I had no idea. I was not a gamer. I had never been to a gaming convention, nothing. And I started thinking about it. And when I was growing up, there was a hobby store near my dad's liquor store. And I loved it. It had all the wooden mechanical puzzles. It was right when D&D was coming out. They had these cool maps on the wall, and you could go in and play with everything. Like I wanted you could just go in and play with puzzles or bring down the maps and look at them. And when I was a kid, when D&D first came out, my mom bought me the book, but I didn't have anybody to play with. So I actually used the red box to write short stories. And I would roll up my characters and I would draw maps and I would do all of this stuff. But I basically played D&D by myself. It's kind of sad. But and so I remember going to the store, and so that's what Labyrinth is based on. It's based on a hobby store that was in Pensacola, Florida, in the late 70s and early 80s.
Huh. So it sounds like you sort of started from a feeling of what you wanted out of a store and a retail opportunity, and games and puzzles are where you landed to try and get to there.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a retail store. My father owned a really large liquor store, and so I grew up there, which is interesting to say, but that was my growing up. But yeah, and I wanted something that connected with the community. Community is really, really important to me. And so I wanted something, and I thought Capitol Hill is filled with really intelligent, educated, middle class to upper class individuals. And I thought to do a retail store, I always loved retail. I loved being at my dad's store. I loved the customers. I loved the community. And I wanted something that would work in our neighborhood. And I thought games and puzzles are great because it's a great way to connect as a family. But, all the attorneys in town can come in and buy smart gifts for their clients or whatever. Like, I just really was trying to think of what can I do with so many different avenues that a retail store can still work.
So
I'm just would like to say I'm annoyed about a lot of this because you were in Pensacola and then you were in Miami, but you decided to open a game store in DC. I missed it by that much. It was really funny when I came up with the idea. It was my 40th birthday, and my husband had taken me to New York for my 40th birthday present. We were out at dinner, and I'm like, sweetheart, I have decided to quit my job and open a game store. And his response was, that was not what I was going to get you for your birthday. I'm like, well, it is now. But I went to Pensacola the week after that to see my parents, and I wrote the entire business plan while I was visiting my parents. They watched my son, and I drafted the whole thing and gave it to my dad. And my dad's like, fine, if this is what you want to do, I'll back you if you need help. And he's like, but I want my banker to look at this. So I took it to this small town bank in Pensacola, and the guy looked at me and he's like, Kathleen, you're insane. This is the stupidest idea you have ever had in your entire life. There is no way that a non-electronic game and puzzle store is ever going to work, but it works great in DC. I don't know that this would have made it in Pensacola. Fair enough. All right.
So one last question before we leave the game store history. How, you sort of fell into running a game store. How has running a game store differed from what you thought it would be like, 10, 12 years ago? How has it been different?
Oh, it's completely different. I had in my idea, in my head, that I would just sit around all day and do puzzles and read books, and then maybe some people would come in the afternoon. It's never been like that. I think I work more hours now than I've ever worked in my whole life, but I love it, and I love everything that I do. Our store, it was just weird. Like I said, I wasn't a huge gamer. I came up with this idea, decided to do it on Capitol Hill, which apparently was really crazy because my rent is astronomical. But it got out into the community that this woman was opening a game store. And so people started calling me. Fred Hicks, who owns Evil Hat or runs Evil Hat Publishing, called my house and said, who are you and why are you opening this store in DC? I'm like, oh, I'm just a mom on Capitol Hill and I thought it would be a good idea. And he's like, oh God. But then we started talking and he found out all of my business experience and my background and things. And he's like, wow, you actually know something about business. I'm going to help you. So actually Fred hooked me up with a bunch of different people who owned stores, and they were amazingly helpful. And so the store developed basically from what the community told me they wanted. And so over the years, that's what we've just kept doing. We really listen to our community. I do regular polls. I try to get feedback from them, and I've built it based on excellent customer service and listening to our clients.
Excellent. Well, I think it's time to move on to our larger discussion, our big question for the episode. And this is sort of, this comes from our sort of ideal as hobbyists. We're always dreaming of drawing non-gamers into the hobby and leaving them as 18xx players or diehard strategists. And
I have to be clear, that's not my goal, Eric, but all right.
That's the myth. That's not really what happens. But for you, Kathleen, this is your business model. You need to bring people into the store and get new customers and draw in somebody who just sort of wanders in and leave them with a game under their arm or a puzzle under their arm. So our big question, what's the best way to bring new people into the hobby? What actually works in doing so?
I think that remembering that everybody doesn't know that Catan is a board game. I mean, really taking people where they are. I think my store is especially good at it just because of our location. We get tons of walk-by traffic. So people who might see something fun in the window. When we did open, I had the two kind of divergent customer groups. I had the families and the kids and stuff, and then I had hardcore gamers. So I kind of made an agreement between all of them that we wouldn't put up, horrifying orcs in the window or blood dripping daggers, but we also wouldn't put up like Disney and Sesame Street stuff. So I've always tried to be a very sophisticated I always joke that we're the Tiffany's of board game stores. I try and make it a very sophisticated, intellectual environment. And I think making sure people always come in and say, why do you have so much staff? And all of my board game retailer friends or my retailer friends are like, oh my God, why do you have so much staff? But really it's because every single person who comes in the store, we try to greet, we try to find out where they are on knowing anything about games and puzzles. And then we play with them. We show them things. We actually pull out games and we'll teach them games. I think just being a really welcoming, warm place where everybody feels safe is incredibly important.
So the best way to get new people in a hobby. So when you I'm assuming you have a lot of extra traffic around holiday seasons, people coming in looking for a gift to buy somebody. So you give them, I don't know, whatever the hot, easy game is at that point in time, something simple. But that doesn't actually get someone in the hobby normally. That just gets them a gift. How do you get them to come back?
Usually they have so much fun that they'll come back. But a lot of what we do, and we were talking about this before, is we really started working with the families and the kids. So when I first went to our first school, pre-COVID, we ran after-school game clubs in 16 different local schools. And when the first time I ever went to a school, I asked all the kids it was a 5th grade class, and I asked them all, what's your favorite game? And they told me Candyland. And I was like, wow, okay, we have 10-year-olds who are playing Candyland. And so we started doing that and started basically teaching all of the kids in our neighborhood about other games. And we would build up to where they were playing Catan or Carcassonne or Seven Wonders and things like that. And then they brought that to their families. So now Capitol Hill has just a huge community of gamers. But I think also just making sure, like, anytime anybody comes in, we tell them about all of the events we run. Pre-COVID, we ran over 700 events a year in all different locations at the store. We run a boozy board game night at one of the local bars. We did all of these school things. We do school game nights in our aftercare program. Getting them involved in the community, I think, builds that connection and shows them how much fun games can be.
Let me ask then something from a somewhat negative perspective. I don't mean a negative, but as a store, we tend to have people come, and that becomes their store. And these people are from all walks of life, and sometimes you have someone who is a detriment to being a regular at your store. I don't know how else to explain it, but they actually almost chase people away because they gatekeep maybe, or they are... they go up and they bother customers. How do you deal with the folks like that, the regulars who think the store is theirs, and keep them from dissuading others coming in the store?
I think that, that's a good question. I think that possibly me being in DC really helps that. I also think that my attitude and my staff's attitude probably helps that. People in Washington, D.C. are generally very, very good at people. It's most of the time it's our business in Washington, D.C. is to get along with other people as much as we possibly can. That might have changed a little bit over the last few years. But I think that we have a very, very social community, and we set up from the very beginning with our Magic groups, with our D&D groups. This is a beginner-friendly store, and if you don't like that, you don't play here. We are welcoming. Our Magic community is the most welcoming, amazing, inclusive group I've ever seen. We have Magic players that go to other stores and play, and they're like, wow, I forgot what it's like. Because I guess one of the big things is when I started the store, it wasn't my dream to own a game store. It was my dream to own a functional business, and it was more important to me that I was happy. I spend almost all of my life in this store, and I'm not going to put up with people who aren't friendly to other people. It's just not what I want to do. I'd rather close the store than have people in here that aren't friendly to other people. So we set ground rules, and all of my staff support them.
So thinking of, for those that haven't been in your store, you have a pretty deep storefront. Although you've expanded, but originally it was a very narrow, deep, with even stairs leading down. So there's sort of when you first walk in the door, a section of the store before you even get to a counter. And that, as a metaphor of drawing people in, what do you put in that first section of the store to draw people further in and get them to stay?
So when we first opened, and still to this day, we have all of our chess stuff, all of our classic games and chess stuff right at the front of the store. There is a thing in retail that people walk in a door and always turn right. So on the right-hand wall, we used to have these beautiful glass shelves that had all of my wooden mechanical puzzles on it. And today we have all of our chess stuff there. So we have chess, checkers, mahjong, beautiful sets of different things. And so anybody who walks in feels comfortable with these beautiful wooden chessboards. We have also recently moved our wall of dice up to the front. So on the left-hand wall, we have this beautiful, colorful wall of dice, and then we have our RPG books and all of our miniatures and stuff. So as you walk in, both non-traditional gamers are looking at all these beautiful wooden chessboards, and then we have our traditional people who come in and see all these dice. And the beautiful colors of the dice will entrance anybody anyway. Like, everybody loves dice.
Yes.
So having dice right when you walk in is colorful and fun and happy. And I think that we always have a display on the front. So right now we have travel games out. So I really try to target the non-gamer who's walking in with whatever you see in the front. And then the back of the main part of the store is all board games. We do a lot more board games than a lot of stores. Board games are adult, casual, more heavy, kind of modern board games is about 50% of our business, with Magic, Pokemon, RPGs, puzzles, and everything making up the other 50%.
That's actually unusual for most stores.
It is very unusual.
So the staff, when people come in, and they say, I'm looking for a fun board game, and they'll say, what's the best board game, or whatever they might say. Do you have like a script, or do you let people kind of guide and choose? How do you tell, what do you do for that person who's like, I want to buy a board game, what should I get?
We usually ask them questions. We usually ask if they're buying it for themselves or with other people, or if they're buying it for their kids, or try and discern who is the recipient of this game. And then we try to ask what games they have played most recently, so that we can gauge with the barometer of okay, are they playing Phase 10, or are they playing Carcassonne, or are they, or are they playing Arc Nova? And I think that all of my staff knows that we question people first, and then we always try to do a couple simpler things unless somebody comes in and it's very, very obvious that they, love Stefan Feld games or something along those lines.
Is there gaming meetups at the store besides camps?
Oh yeah, we have we run Casual Commander Magic every Tuesday night. Wednesday nights we do a variety of things. Most recently we've been running Wingspan Wednesdays with the local Audubon Society and the Anacostia River Keeper. And then Thursday nights are always board game nights. Those are our biggest nights. We get tons of people. And then we do F&M on Fridays, and we do a wide variety of stuff on the weekends. A lot of Pokemon leagues and Pokemon tournaments, and we had a standard Pokemon tournament yesterday. We do X-Wing once a month. We do, like I said, we have our Gen Cant coming up on August 6th. It's a big day where local game designers who aren't going to Gen Con all come to the store. So Jason Matthews, the designer of Twilight Struggle, is going to be here on August 6th. Then we have a few other local game designers coming in. The RPG creators of Sign and Dialect are coming in to show off their new game, Xenolanguage. So yeah, we always have things going on.
Do you create relationships with other local businesses in the area to try and sort of cross-pollinate foot traffic, that sort of thing?
I try to. We have a bookstore right next to us that opened about 3 years after we first opened. So we do a lot of cross-promotion because they're right next door. We also, during COVID, it was a huge thing. They shut us down during COVID. Like we weren't even supposed to really be in the store. And I worked out a deal with the bar on the corner where we do Boozy Board Game Night. And I worked out a deal for me and the bookstore and a kitchen supply store that's close by. We all were taking orders over the phone and packaging them all up and taking them to the bar because the bar could do takeout. So people could buy dinner and a game or dinner and a book. So that's how we stayed afloat the first month of COVID.
I like that. Ordering takeout board games.
But I love my community. So yeah, I super love my community.
I saw, I think on your social media, you were doing a Where's Waldo event where you had hidden little Waldos and at the bookstore and other local businesses. And so there was a Waldo hidden in Labyrinth somewhere and trying to get people to visit all of the local businesses to find all of the instances.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff like that. A few years ago, we did a puzzle hunt, and I set up different puzzles at about 12 different local businesses, and people had to go around and solve the puzzle at each of the business. And then we had a huge puzzle party at the end of it with Think Fun and different people, because Think Fun's local. All
right. Well, let's move on to some of our questions. And I think we've touched on a few of the questions that we had on the horizon already. We had one from Elizabeth H., who may or may not have been on this show before, saying Labyrinth has such a great community of customers. What are the most important things you've done to build that? We've touched on a few of those things. Is there anything else that you think is very important about building a community and keeping it healthy in your store?
Well, having Elizabeth H. come to the store and play test a lot of her games has certainly helped. So, yeah, I really love her, and I'm glad that she's local. I think making sure that the community is first and foremost in all of our minds, and making sure that we support our staff so that our staff is happy and really supports kind of our vision and goal. But if anybody ever comes to me and if it's to help in any way, educational aspects or kids, I pretty much do it. So, gaming in the park, we do. Gaming at local schools, we do. Gaming, we do street festivals, and whatever we can to bring community to our community is really important to me.
So Drew mentioned some of the stuff that we talked about, the pandemic presenting a big challenge to game retailers. Many came up with the innovations to continue to deliver services to survive, and his friendly local gaming store did PayPal transactions, contactless pickups. How did you meet this challenge, or other ways you've met this challenge? And have any of the things you did remained options or policies that you continue to offer? Is there something that you had to learn to do and now is actually a good way of doing things?
Well, we did not have a website, a web store before COVID. So we did not sell online at all pre-COVID, which I never wanted to be an online retailer. Like, my whole idea was in-person gaming. I wanted it to be real, face-to-face stuff. And obviously, when they shut us down, I had staff manning phones because we had so many calls of people who wanted puzzles and games and whatever. It was the weirdest time I can ever imagine. It's been a very, very hard 2 years. We were incredibly lucky that our community is so strong, and I can never thank our customers enough. I mean, we were driving and delivering games to people's houses, and they would walk up and just hand me a check for $500 or $1,000, being like, just use this to pay your staff. We want to make sure. I paid all of my staff, whether they worked or not, through the entire pandemic. They made 40 hours a week, full-time wages the entire time. Until they decided they didn't want to do that anymore, if any of them did. But I think that we now have a web store, and we're going to continue it, and people shop with us, and I'm really excited because I don't match Amazon and we charge shipping. But people love Labyrinth and love what we do, so they really support us, and I appreciate that. But yeah, we have a really flourishing web store now. It's now about 10 to 15% of our gross revenue is coming online, which is interesting to me.
Cool. So Julienne is from France and wants to know, what are the long game sellers in the US, the evergreen titles? In France, Seven Wonders Duel and Codenames are two that come to mind. Unlock as well, although it's more because of the never-ending stream of new boxes. Are there similar games in the US that just sell strong all the time in hobby shops that you can't keep on the shelves, that you know that this is always a hit?
We still sell a lot of Catan. Catan is usually in our top 10 sellers. Obviously, Elizabeth H's game, Wingspan, is not a super old game.
Is this the new thing here, but, Elizabeth H? All right, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, but Wingspan, we usually keep at least 2 pallets worth of Wingspan in the back room. We sell a lot of Wingspan. Azul is still a really big seller. We still sell a lot of Dominion. We sold 8 copies of Dominion last week. We sold out of Dominion, which I think is kind of crazy that we still sell a lot of that. Carcassonne, we still sell a ton of. And then we also do really, really well with traditional games. Uno, we sell a ton of Uno. And Quirkle, I love. Susan McKinley Ross is one of my favorite game designers, and I love her immensely. And so Quirkle is my mom's favorite game, and we sell a ton of Quirkle.
So a last one, a pre-submitted. John asks, would you consider getting a store dog or another pet?
Yes, I know who that is.
Is this an in-joke? I'm completely confused.
Yeah, he's been trolling me for 12 years about getting a store dog, and he hasn't been in lately, so all I'll say is he doesn't know whether we have one yet or not.
Okay, then.
All right, so
no store.
We have a Kabuki kid wants to know, how deeply do you buy Kickstarter games to sell in the store? We often see Kickstarters with retail pledges and stuff. So how do you deal with that?
That's a good one, and I'm probably different than other people. When Kickstarter first started getting popular, I did try and back things. I especially tried to back things with game companies that I knew, like North Star Games and Evil Hat, and I really tried very hard to back them. And then I realized that I didn't always get them when I was supposed to get them, even with friends or big companies that were doing Kickstarters. And the second or third year we were open, it kind of messed up a lot of my taxes and cash flow and things. So for a long time, I didn't do any Kickstarters. And then right prior to the COVID, I started backing Kickstarters again and put a lot of money into some Kickstarters. And then COVID hit, and I never got any of them. But we just are still getting a few of them now. So I have gone back again to being very, very careful to backing Kickstarters. But I have backed some, and like we just got My Father's Work in. I'm excited about that one. I haven't gotten to play it yet, but I'm really excited for it. And there are several others. So I'm very picky about the Kickstarters that I back generally, but I do sometimes do them.
All right. Nick says, what percentage of customers would you say are completely oblivious to the hobby side of board gaming? Quote unquote hobby, obviously.
I would say probably 50% of our customers are completely oblivious to knowing that any board games exist at all.
Wow,
so do you try to point them to that, or do you just like, oh, look, here's Uno, that's good, or Catan?
It kind of depends on the person, and it kind of depends on what they're saying in the store. We frequently have people come in and go, wow, this is such a cool store, or I had no idea there were this many board games. And those people we very much interact with, and I try to explain kind of the history of the modern board gaming era. And I talk a lot. I really love historical stuff about games. And so I talk about how different games are based off of other old games and things like that. So we try to engage them as much as we can. But if I have a grandma who comes in and she's like, I don't know what all this new stuff is, I just want, Rummy Cube, then I give her Rummy Cube.
You have to sort of gauge whether they're interested in learning more before you push them in that direction.
Do you try, it's impossible to keep everything in stock. What's more important? So let's say I'm a new store owner and I actually don't know all this stuff. Like, is it better, you mentioned you have 2 pallets of Wingspan, is it better to have a deep stock of fewer games or to have as many different games? And how do you determine when to get rid of a game that's not selling?
I think it really depends on your customer base. I think that for our model and the way we do it, I try to have as many different games as I possibly can, but I also, because we're not a huge store, I really try to curate it to things that I know are really excellent games. But I do have a pretty wide stock, but not nearly as wide as a lot of bigger stores. I remember one time they were having a Magic thing here, and some game store owner came in and he's like, well, why do you have all these games everywhere? I'm like, well, I sell those games. So we do keep a pretty big back stock of our best sellers. Probably the top 50 games I carry at least a month supply of, because especially right now, games keep coming in and out of stock because of supply chain issues. I don't ever want to not have a bestseller. I don't have Root right now. I wish I could have bought more Root before it disappeared, but I try to always make sure that I have bestsellers as much as I possibly can.
Well, to that end, the supply issue chain that you mentioned, how has that affected your store?
Oh, it's been horrible. It's been really, really hard. Our prices are going up. I mean, all of our prices. I'm trying to pay my staff as much as I possibly can because of inflation, but it's impossible to know when we're getting things. The Kickstarter games, I have no idea when they're coming. We also, unlike a lot of stores, sell a lot of Lego. I actually have a direct account with Lego. It took me 5 years to get. I'm a pretty big Lego seller. It has horrible margins, but I have no idea when they're sending me things and what they're sending me. Like, it just is always a surprise when stuff kind of shows up. We have also had to, in the last 2 years, I'm keeping a much deeper stock on some things like Wingspan and Catan and Carcassonne, because I never know when I may not be able to get them. I bought close to $30,000 worth of Mattel because they were going to cut me off because I wasn't buying enough from them. So I bought enough for 2 years. So I actually had to expand even further, Eric. When you come next time, I'll have to take you on a tour. But I have now taken over more space next door to us, and I'm just using it for storage because my house was completely full, and now I've gotten most of the stuff out of my house, and we have a little bit more storage. So yeah, I've basically had to shell out to have a place to just keep games because I never know when I'm going to be able to get anything.
Wow. Did you feel like you had to, since you didn't know when things would arrive in the last couple of years, did you have to focus on the things you already had on the shelf, demo those games more often, push those as opposed to saying, well, we think this will be releasing soon, or even not even paying attention to the upcoming in the last 6 months or the next 6 months?
I have probably cut our new games coming in somewhat and especially during the coronavirus, because when we were closed and when we couldn't show people games, like we hand sell a lot of stuff. So when I get, strange games like Canvas or something like that, and people don't necessarily know the name of it, unless I can show them how to play and do it, they just don't sell as much. So we definitely went more for evergreens when we were closed. Now that we're open and doing events again, we are starting to bring some in, but I'm not bringing in as many that I'm not sure about. So usually I have to play a game, or I have lots and lots of local game designers and friends who go to all different kinds of events. And all of them send me text messages back. Elizabeth and Jason Matthews and all of them, every time they go to a convention, they send me text messages of all the games that I should keep an eye on. So I am bringing in all the big games and the games that I really like and the games that I think our customers will like, but I've probably cut it a little bit.
All right, it's time to jump to games. Games.
Indeed. Games. Well, we're shaking up our 1-in-1 segment. We're going to move to a new and old format. This is where we get to talk about one game that is new, that we'd consider to be brand new, and one that we've played lately that would be an older title that still has our interest. Kathleen, why don't you go first? A new game and an old game.
So my new game is the Guild of Merchant Explorers. I am completely obsessed with it. I think I've played it like 20 times in the last couple weeks. And then my older game that I still love and play all the time is probably Azul. I love puzzle-y games.
So I know nothing about the Guild of Merchant Explorers. Can you give a quick one sentence? What sort of game is it?
It is a route building game that's a little bit like a roll and write without rolling or writing. You flip cards and you're building routes, but you have these cute little cubes. And I really love that as you play 4 rounds, it's really fast, but as you play, the game really expands on itself and kind of grows on itself. And I think it's fascinating. I really like it.
It has a little bit of kingdom builder.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a card that you're putting out these houses on the board. But the cool thing about the game, Eric, is that you get these special cards that only you can use, and they feel amazingly powerful. Of course, everyone else has one too, and it's just so unique. I mean, it looks blah as all get out, but it's really fun, and I think most of the time when you play it, you'll play it at least twice.
And I love that it has 4 different maps in it, and every map is really different and doesn't look that different. As he said, it's pretty blah, but it changes the entire way you're playing, and those cards that give you special abilities change every single time. So it's an open information game, like you know everything and you kind of know what's coming, but every single game I've played has been very different.
And so you mentioned Azul. I'm assuming you're talking about the original and not one of the variants. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Summer Pavilion is my favorite, and I really like Queen's Garden that just recently came out, but Classic Azul is something very special to me. I really love it. I remember seeing different videos and stuff on it when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this is going to be my game, and it is. I really love that game.
Would you consider that to be one of the evergreens that you have to keep 2 pallets of stock?
Most definitely. I have a lot of Azul.
All right,
right,
Eric,
well,
what about you?
For me, I got to play an IP game that I was really excited about. A Goofy movie was something that was very big in my childhood, more specifically for my younger siblings. But we watched it a lot. We had the soundtrack. We sang the songs to a Goofy movie, and now, however many, like 20, 30 years later, Funko has come out with a Goofy movie game where you travel the country. Trying to see, like, the plot of the movie is that they're trying to get to a concert for Powerline. He's like the big musical artist, and so you're working your way on this map and traveling toward Powerline's concert and collecting cards that have all those same drafting scoring bonuses. Like there's one that's just a straight pyramid scoring, and there's one that if you have the most you get a bonus, and there's another that you need triples or doubles in order to score points, that sort of thing. And you're running around drafting cards from your opponents, and there's sort of a bidding aspect. You're playing cards and trying to get the highest score in a suit in order to get extra cards, and trying to be the first one to get the best seat at the concert. It's a little lighter than I thought it was going to be. There's very little of the like central conflict of a Goofy movie in this, which is all about like a father-son road trip tale.
Sorry.
It's this very straightforward drafting mechanisms. It's for what it's trying to do, it actually works quite well. But I was hoping for something a little more, I don't know, angsty and a closer match to the plot of the film. But that's the new game that
it bothered me. You said that movie was 30 years old. I looked it up, and lo and behold, it almost is.
It very much is. And the older game that I got to play recently is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. I know this is a ways away. The last time I had played Legacy 2 was 2018. And my eldest son and wife sort of bounced off of it. We had to stop playing for a little while, and they got confused about the rules. The rules of the game change as you go. And they just didn't want to take the effort to start from the beginning and relearn how to play the game. And I got sick of seeing it on the shelf unfinished. And so I soloed it, still playing their 3 characters, but I soloed the game, finished it. I loved this game.
Did you win?
Season 2, I did win.
Definitely affects it.
Okay, I could see that, because it's kind of painful if you don't. This one has a lot of exploration. You start with a very small map. I'm not going to spoil anything plot-wise. You start with a small map and explore outward. So I loved that aspect of revealing new parts of the map. And I loved the tuning of the cards in the game. There's another one of my favorites, the Pathfinder Adventure card game, has that tuning of your deck and planning for a future session by doing things to your deck now. And that is part of Legacy 2 as well. And I really liked that, looking ahead. I know this is going to be a problem, so I need to maybe not do as well this turn, even lose a game right now to make it easier for us to win next time. And I really liked that aspect. And the twists and turns were cool too. Not quite as twisty as Season 1, but really liked Season 2. I really liked it.
All right, so my new game, which is made by the same people who made Exploding Kittens, is Hand to Hand Wombat. Now this sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, but I'm amused by this tremendously. So this game comes with these 3 towers that are like those, those kids things where you put the round rings on, the different color rings from largest to smallest. So it's the same thing here. You have 3 of these towers. The towers have little bumps on the bottom, and that's important because as a group, you're putting together these towers with one hand and your eyes closed. So everyone's talking like, I have the bottom piece. Where's this? Oh, hand it to me. I got the tower, and you put it the towers. Except one person's a traitor, and that person is trying to mess everybody up. The problem is, so you play 90 seconds. It's 90 seconds, blah, blah, blah. You look, and you see how many towers are done. If all 3 towers are finished, the good guys get 2 points. If 1 tower is finished, if 2 towers are finished, the good guys get 1 point. If 1 tower is finished, the bad guys get a point. And if no towers are finished, the bad guys get 2 points. Easy enough. But then everybody can, if they want to, point a finger at somebody and kick them out of the game. They're just out of the game. So if I'm pretty sure Eric's the traitor, we're kicking him out.
Or
so
you just
Eric,
want to kick me out.
well, yeah. But I'm sorry. I should have said Kathleen because I would have. Then I'd be less biased. But
Everybody always kicks me out. It's all right.
So you don't want to be too obvious as a traitor, because you'll get kicked out and then they'll win. If everyone knows if there is no traitor, once you play it a few times, you will know how to put it together. So it's pretty fun, except I'll tell you this, it is about 3 or 4 times more fun to watch. It is hilarious to watch people yelling about they need a certain shape while they're actually holding it. Or hand the wrong shape to someone, then apologize profusely when they knew what they were doing. Or spin the board when no one's looking. There's all kinds of things you can do, but everyone's suspicious of everybody else. This is amusing. I think this one will do well. The central conceit, it's very simple. It's like you're working together and one person's a traitor, but I like it.
Okay.
So, also has a great name, Hand-to-Hand Wombat.
What are the pieces? Is it like large plastic or wooden?
They're plastic
chunky
pieces,
okay.
And each plastic piece has like dots on the side, so like rivet. They almost feel like rivets, and that's just so you know. Oh, this is size 6, this is size 5, etc. And you're supposed to, as far as I can tell from the rules, everything stays in the box lid. So you're rooting around in there, feeling around, and yelling and talking. But the bad guy can be blatant. But if they're blatant, they're going to be kicked out, and then, like I said, everyone's going to win. So you want to be annoying, but not too blatant.
Gotcha.
And then for an old game, let's go back to my childhood and talk about Cosmic Encounter.
Ah, yes.
But I'm cheating here because Cosmic Encounter is an old game. But what's making me play it? Because of a new expansion.
New expansion, yep.
Which I made sure to tell Eric about.
Yes, he made a point. Yes. Oh, by the way, how's that Merchant of Venus expansion coming? Yes. New expansion, please.
This is I think the 6th expansion. Okay, but this actually counts because they brought back things from Mayfair Cosmic Encounter, the one from the early 90s. And in fact, one of the new powers, I forget the name of the power now for some reason, but it looks like a not Mayfair, the Eon, the original one.
From
the 70s. It looks like that, and if you are this power, you have to complain the whole game about how things used to be better, and you call everything by their original names, and so you can break a rule because that's the way it used to be. I'm very amused. I don't think it's like a particularly great power necessarily, but it amuses me to no end.
Oh my goodness.
Because but it also adds a campaign. So that's the one part I haven't played yet because, like, who's playing campaigns of Cosmic Encounter? So I'll get around to it. It's only 4 games, but it brings back the moons. It calls them, they're moons. It also lucre, but there's also a ton of content. There is as much content in this box, I think, as there is in the base game. It adds 42 new aliens, moons. It adds a new currency. It adds more space stations, a bit more reward deck, more of everything. So if you like Cosmic Encounter and you wish there was more, this is a lot more.
Did you say it has lucre in this expansion?
Well, it's not called lucre. It's called something else, but it essentially functions the same way.
But that character has to call it lucre and be smug about it.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That I love that character so much, and it's so dumb.
You're just gonna stack the deck so that you get to be that person every time? I see.
No. I don't want to be that person. I want to mock that person. But I guess you can be that person because you're playing ironically.
Sure.
That's the thing. You can be bad if you're just, I didn't mean it. Anyhow. All right.
Kathleen, where can we go to find out what you are up to, what your store is up to, what wonderful events you've got coming up on the horizon?
Well, we are Labyrinth DC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Labyrinth DC, Labyrinth, and we're there. We just recently started a TikTok channel too, but I'm not dancing.
Are you dancing?
So,
I want to know, but
no, I'm not dancing. There's no dancing. we'll have to see what happens. I don't know. Some of my staff is very excited about it, so we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, our website is Labyrinth DC, our Facebook's Labyrinth DC, everything's Labyrinth DC.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This was a great discussion.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
I could see people on the chat really enjoying it. You have a number of fans who showed up for the live chat, so we appreciate that as well.
That's so sweet. I love our customers. I think that's the best part.
Man, I'm just jealous of this store.
You just have to come to DC.
You can come anytime.
Ah, man.
It's great. You should have dragged your kids there when you were in DC.
We have nothing like this down here.
Are you looking at pictures?
Yes. This is saddening me. But I mean, it makes me happy that such a store exists.
I'll be there soon as we can get out there.
It would give me an excuse to go to DC.
See?
Yeah. It would be great. We have our big used game sale for charity coming up on September 10th and 11th.
That's like around my birthday, Eric.
More games.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Alrighty. Well, I think I'm supposed to end this here. Okay, so here's how this works. So until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Eric Summerer.
We'll see you soon at the table.
Wonderful job, Tom. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you again in 2 weeks and one day when our guest will be Wendy Yee. At the Table is produced by Tom and me with assistance from Roy Kennedy, Wendy Yee, and Chris Yee. Our theme was composed by Timothy Pinkham. Our campaign against Archie Andrews in his friendly rivalry provided by Reggie's Side. And support for everything at the Dice Tower comes from viewers and listeners like you. Reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter or to Tom at Dicetower.com or Eric at Dicetower.com. Until we see you again from all of us at the table, have fun
gaming.